After all these years, I finally found you. The manga that killed my master. Prepare to die.
I want my notebook.
Hello people, I am Sky Demolisher and welcome back for another 12 days of anime video. The topic of this video is my favourite manga purchased in 2019, and as you can see in front of you, it is the all-in-one edition of Death Note. Now, you might remember me talking about this from my haul from Armageddon Expo, because that's where I got it from, and I think I paid like $40 for it, which is an extremely good price given that the back of this box says that it costs that in America. So it comes with a semi-hard slipcase. Sorry. I'm not going to edit that out though. I'm not going to edit that out. I know you know what I'm thinking. You could have a laugh at it too. So on the back and the spine is a picture of Ryuk, and on the front is other characters like Light and L, Misa. At the moment I've completely blanked on the name of the kid that took over from L. Maybe he was the next L. Maybe he was L2. I can't remember. Anyway, all up, I'm actually very pleased with this. It's great to have all of Death Note in one book. It's certainly very weighty, which is probably one of the downsides, and I would say that if you've got the option of getting the individual books opposed to this, I would go for the individual books. Because eventually the spine on this is going to start to give way and then the pages are going to fall out. So this is a very nice collection to have, but it's not something that's going to withstand a lot of reading over time. In saying that, it's great to have it. I always wanted to read Death Note properly. One of the issues that I had living in Christchurch is that people loved the art in manga, so they would rip the pages out of the books that I got from the library. So I can't even remember which book it is that I started, but I didn't start at book 1. And they never seemed to have book 1, so now I've been able to read book 1. I haven't finished reading this, even though I got it back in June. Sue me. I have been reading other things, like I reread Watchmen and stuff, but that's not a manga. It would probably be quite interesting in a manga style though. Homework! Do that! No, I'm kidding. I don't see it homework, I'm not your teacher. No spanking for you. I really shouldn't do that because, you know, that's been outlawed in teaching since before even I was at school. So I never got to read all of the series. What I also find interesting is how it sort of follows, or I shouldn't say how it follows, how the anime followed the books, but sort of went off in parts. As far as I've got into it, there's parts that are definitely different to the anime, which I find quite interesting. But I think the thing I found more fascinating is the fact that the anime really did take quite a few cues out of the book. So you get like literal perfect animations from the book put into the anime. And I think that's really, really cool because I love it when people use the source material in their shows and they don't deviate too far from it. I think that's really, really good. Now, of course, I should really flip it open for you. It is fully, you know, black and white. It is a fairly good grade of paper. It's very glossy. Weight wise, I think you're probably looking at close to half a kg for this. And you know, I don't know if I did it before or not, but it's basically the size of my fingers, like, you know, from my fingers down to my palm. So that sort of gives you an idea of how big it is as a book. The other interesting thing though is that I'm sure if you got the individual books, they would actually go to be about that size when put back to stuttering there, back to back. So it's quite interesting to see them, you know, cut it down to this. But I would guess that's because in those individual books, you normally got like extra art and like commentary and that sort of stuff. Particularly from, like, was it Tokyo Pop? I think they were the ones that put the books out for the Western audience. So this doesn't have, you know, like all the extra art stuff added in and all of that. But what I have noted by flicking through it is that this includes characters that were not in the anime, particularly the King of Death, who oddly was actually released in the DVD series because I own it. I own like the last 2 DVDs, and I think the second to last one came with Sado, and the very last one came with the Mystery, who of course is the King of Death. So when I watched the anime, I was like, oh cool, I'm finally going to get to see what he looks like on the screen. And then he wasn't on the screen, and I was like, all right. So he's only in the book from what I can tell. But this is basically the only manga purchase that I made this year as well. Manga is very, very hard to find in New Zealand, and it's not cheap. Most of the manga I do own, I've owned because it was clearance stuff, and it wasn't really stuff that I was going to read anyway. It's just, you know, when you find a $5 book, you buy a $5 book. But Death Note was definitely a series that I wanted to get my hands on. So for 2019, being the only manga that I got this year, but not the only one I read, it is my favourite manga from 2019. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye.